This is the recap for episode 9 of season 5 entitled Namaste. Okay, at the beginning of the episode, Ajira Airways Flight 316 is in the air flying at night. They hit turbulence. Poof, big flash of light, and then they're flying in daytime. And they're flying over an island. Actually, I shouldn't say they're flying because they're crashing. And the co-pilot's like, I don't want to go down there, I might be getting impaled by a branch. So they see that there's like a runway on this island, and then they decide to like crash land on the runway, and then lo and behold, the co-pilot got impaled by a branch and died. Frank goes in the back to find out like who survived. Jack and Hurley and Kate are gone. Ben goes, they're gone. And he says, gone where? And Ben says, how would I know? Back in 1977, Jin has brought Kate, Hurley, and Jack to meet up with Sawyer, and they're all having their little reunion. It's hi Kong and hi Freckles and hi Doc, and that's all good. And Sawyer tells everyone that, guess what, it's 1977. And Jack says, guess what, Locke died. We got to look for the other people on the plane. And Jin says, who else was on the plane? Let's see, Saeed and Ben, we don't care about him. And then let's see, Frank Lapidus, the pilot. Oh, and that's right, Sun. Jin takes this opportunity to go run and get into the Jeep. And before he leaves, Sawyer asks him, where are you going? He says, I'm going to go to the Flame. Sawyer tells everyone that he's got to try and figure out a way to kind of like bring them into the Dharmaville place and whatever, and he says, stay right here, don't do anything until I get back. He goes back to his house, tells Juliet that they're back, and she's like, oh, well, maybe this is a good time for me to tell you that I like Jack better. We got to try and think of, a way to get them here. And she says, well, there's a sub that's arriving this afternoon. At the Flame station, Jin arrives and tells Radzinski, I need you to check with all the other stations to see if they've noticed a plane land on the island or anywhere in the vicinity. And he's like, do you think I would be over here building a model if there was a plane? And Jin says, yeah, I really think that you would have because you're a nerd. In 2007, Sun's holding Jin's ring and she's all melancholy, and Ilana walks up and she's like, I'm sorry, did you lose someone? And she's like, who the hell are you? Get the hell away from me before I hit you over the head with an oar. The pilot, Frank, explains, okay, we crashed. The radio's out. The island that we're on isn't on the charts. So all we got to do is sit here and just wait until we get rescued. Does that sound familiar? Caesar says, well, off in the jungle I see that there are some buildings and some animal cages, and if you walk down the beach you can see a bigger island across the water. Ben's like, a bigger island? Oh my God, can my eyes get bigger? So he runs off into the jungle. Sun sees this and she's like, he's not running a marathon. I better follow him. So she runs off after him, and Frank says, she wasn't on fire, so she wasn't trying to, I better follow her. So he runs off after her. Sun's trying to follow Ben in the jungle, and he's like, why are you following me, son? She's like, where are you going? He goes, to our island. Do you want to come? Back in 1977, Sawyer comes back to where Kate and Hurley and Jack were waiting out on the wherever, and explains, okay, this is what we're going to do. There's a submarine that's coming in this afternoon with new recruits. We're going to pretend that you guys were on it. Everyone gets doped up for the trip before they arrive to the island, so no one's going to remember you being on the sub. At the Flame station, Jin and Radzinski are looking over the computers, and then all of a sudden there's like an alarm, and Radzinski says, oh, there's a hostile in our territory. That violates the truce. Jin thinks that it's probably going to be like Sun or at least one of the others, and so he takes off into the jungle, and lo and behold he comes across Saeed, and Saeed's still in his handcuffs, and he's all, hello Jin, and Jin's all, Saeed, where the hell is Sun, and where have you been? And Saeed's like, holy crap Jin, you can speak English. Okay, on the way to the Dharma Initiative, like welcome to the island, like namaste kind of celebration for the new recruits. Sawyer tells them, okay, so this is what happens when you get up there. There's a little celebration, you go up, you watch a little meet and greet video, and then when they call your name, you go up, you get your uniform, and you have your work assignments, and it's all going to work out. Then Sawyer gets a, is it a walkie-talkie call from Jin, who's at the Flame station, saying, yeah, we got a 14J, which means a hostile. And then he's all, it's Saeed. Damn, how many people might have to try and cover up today? In 2007, Sun and Ben were walking to the coastline of the small island that they're on, and they find there's 3 outrigger canoes. Frank finally catches up to them, and he's like, Sun, are you okay? And she's like, uh-huh. Why are you going with him? She's like, I have to trust him. I have to find my husband. And then Sun hits Ben on the head with an oar. Over and over and over and over and over. And Frank's like, I think he's unconscious now. No, she only hits him once, but I really wish it was like more than that. Frank says, I thought you trusted him. She says, I lied. And so they get into the outrigger canoe and they paddle off to go over to the larger island. Back in 1977, everyone's in the little building. So some guy named Phil walks over to Kate and says, "Oh, ma'am, they haven't called you." She says, "No, I'm sorry." She says, "What's your name?" She says, "Kate Austin." And he says, "Well, you're not on my list. I'm going to have to gun you down because I don't know who you are." Juliet runs in at the last minute and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have some last-minute additions, including Miss Austin here. Welcome to the island, Kate." And she's like, "Yeah, skank, I hope you get dropped down a hole." At the flame station, Radzinski thinks that Saeed is a hostile, so Sawyer comes and he's like, "I want to talk to the man," and whatever. And he goes in and tells Saeed, okay, like, he says, "You have to identify yourself as one of the hostiles as part of the truce, otherwise we have the authority to gun you down." Saeed says, "We do not refer to ourselves as hostiles, but yes, I am one of them." Playing along. In 2007, Sun and Frank finally make it to the dock on the larger island, and as soon as they get off, you know, they're like here, like something out in the jungle, and like a tree snaps, you know, and Frank's like, "Tell me you saw that." Sun's like, "That's just our pet, the monster. Don't even worry about it. It's fine." So they eventually get to the Dharma Initiative barracks, but it's deserted. They see some lights go on in one of the houses, and out walks Christian Shepherd. He's like, "Follow me." And the stupid asses follow him. "I'm looking for my husband. I'm looking for my husband." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, okay. Here you go. He's with your friends." He pulls down a picture that has a year on it, like 1977, from the recruits, and it shows that Jack and Jin, Hurley and Kate and Sawyer, they're all in this little picture. So back in 1977, that's when the picture of all of them are being taken, and they're all like, "Namaste!" Click. Well, everyone that has just arrived on the island sees that as they come up with the bus or the jeep or whatever he's in, they pull Saeed out, and Hurley's like, "Dude, that's Saeed," and Kate's like, "Shut up." Later that night, Jack decides to go to Sawyer, LaFleur's house, and finds out that he's been living with Juliet. What a sin. He goes in and he's asking Sawyer, who's sitting down and reading a book. He says, you know, like, "What are you going to do? What's your plan?" or whatever. And he says, "Well, I saved your ass today. I'm going to save Saeed's tomorrow. Other than that, just go ahead and leave it alone. Now, trot on off, Doc." He's like, "Don't worry about it. Isn't that a relief to not worry about it?" And Jack says, yeah. So in where they're holding Saeed, in walks 10 or 11-year-old, I don't remember who it is, or how young he is, Benjamin Linus, and he's got a sandwich. And he says, "Here, Mr. Hostile, I brought you a sandwich." And he's all, "Thank you. Who the hell are you?" "I'm Ben Linus." "Holy crap. It's nice to meet you, Ben." And that's how the episode ends. If you're lost, you're just going to have to rewatch the episode.